Okay. Hi, Sonia. How are you?
Hi, Douglas. I'm great.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So, you've got a book out called Leave the Little Light On. And is this your first published book?
It is. It is my first, and it will be my first published book series, actually, that I wrote.
Oh, I see. This is going to be a series. Do you know how many books you
There,
anticipate there in
there
the
are
series?
four. There are four. They're all written. I actually thought it was one long book that I was writing when I was writing it, and I thought it was a book in four parts, but I was writing it by hand, so I didn't really know how much I had written until I translated it into the computer and realized I had actually written four full books.
Wow, you wrote it out by hand?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that.
I did. It was a voice, a man's voice said to me on March 1st, 2020, it's time to write. And I jumped out of bed. It was 4 a.m. and I went to a chair in my living room. I had a journal sitting there by it with a pen, and I just crossed myself. I said a little prayer and I held the pen over the paper, and it I hadn't really a thought in my head to write anything. And it just wrote Leave the Little Light On by Sonia Palleck. And I thought, oh, that's a nice title. And so what? And Athena took the great painted stairs one step at a time, came out and it just started writing this story.
Who was the man? Do you know?
I'm not. I asked if it was God, and I didn't really get a response to that. I think it was like an angel or a messenger.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. Why do you suppose you were picked to do that at this point? Has something traumatic happened in your life, or did you have a big change of some kind?
Yes, I did. I went through sort of a huge metamorphosis in my life. So I'm an orthodontist. I was married for 22 years, and my marriage ended. My parents passed away. I lost everything in a divorce, and I found myself in, sort of at the lowest point in my life, where I went on every sort of healing journey that I could to find out, what love was. And I came to an understanding in my own self of that, in some universal truths, really, like of what love is, and found peace, inner peace. And I remember asking God if he could just show me how to show people how to get there, because all of these healing things that I did, I mean, I did a decade of therapy prior to that, but it took so long and it took such searching. And I think that that's what this was. I think that that's why I've been called to do that.
Were you a religious person prior to all of this?
I wouldn't say religious. No, I was raised with organized religion, but I grew away from that for most of my adult life. And I would say that I'm a spiritual person.
Let me touch a little bit on orthodontics, and then we'll get back to your book. So, according to your bio, it said you pioneered the use of digital orthodontics.
Yes,
What is that? Explain what that is.
digital orthodontics, besides being like aligners, which everybody knows, the concept is custom braces. So it involves a scan of the teeth, and then a very brilliant orthodontist who is also an engineer, Dr. Craig and Draco, developed a system where you move the teeth on a CAD cam and then you reverse engineer the braces and the wires from that. It's a system called Insignia. And I took that up right as it was launching and sort of really became an expert at the software and and what translated between the computer and patient. And so I've lectured all over the world to help explain that and to develop that technique.
Okay. Do you guys use 3D printing?
Yes, there's 3D printing in ortho. Yeah,
Okay, because that would make sense. If you took a
yeah,
cast or a print of somebody's mouth, then the 3D printing
yeah.
would be easy. Have braces changed at all in their appearance? Or are they still those like wire railroad tracks?
There are the wild wire railroad tracks types, yes, and they come in clear and colors and things like that. Aligners are very popular. Spark is a wonderful aligner system, very clear. So there's lots of advances. The majority of the movement is though just to be less painful and quicker treatment with better results. So overall, just a better outcome.
Do you find that the wire ones people are using as much for fashion as they are, for the purpose of straightening their teeth? Because I see people like in their 40s and 50s sometimes with those, and when I grew up, nobody as an adult had those. It was just you put them on your
No.
kids.
I think just more the stigma of having braces has diminished, with society. So we want the results, and we're willing to undergo the therapy. Custom braces, fully custom braces are metal, and so they do look like the regular braces, but they don't act like them.
I guess I was lucky. I never needed braces. My teeth
Very lucky.
came in straight, but I did have to have all my wisdom teeth pulled out at one point, and that was no fun. But
No.
anyways, okay. Well, so the book is called Leave the Light On, Book One, Windsor, and the main character is Athena. Is she you, or is she not you?
Athena is based on my life. Yes.
Okay. Give us an overview of the book. How does the story play? Let me before you say anything. Is this book? I'm looking at the synopsis here. It's not a children's book, is it?
Yeah, it's not a children's series. No, it's an adult fiction. Although the character Athena is 3 years old when we meet her at the start of the first book, and it is a coming of age book, book one, Windsor. We follow her along until she's 18. It's got mature themes. There's some trauma, there's child abuse, there's alcoholism, dysfunctional family issues, and so I find that the teen population very much gravitates to it, and because of maybe precociousness of, with our society today, in understanding more complex issues with adults. So I find that they're a readership, but for young children, no.
You told me that you wrote this out by hand and that it came out to be 4 books worth. Do you know how many words you wrote in total?
It was just over 620,000 words.
Oh my goodness.
It was in 15 months. So every day I sat down, my eyes just opened at 4 a.m. with the thought that it was time to write. And I was just compelled to get up every day, sit in a chair, and write out what came to me. And I never really gave it another thought. It wasn't, I would go to work at 5 a.m. is when I would normally have gotten up to go to work, and I would just get up and go to work and run my day. And the next morning it would happen again. And at first, I went through the first hour that I wrote that first morning, and I was just sort of stunned by how much writing had come out. I recognized Athena was me in an incident where my father burned me accidentally with a cigarette and then told me, "You're fine. Don't cry. Shake it off. What were you doing here anyway?" And that sort of sets the tone of the book, for trauma, and sort of how it's set in the 70s and 80s, and very much like how adults were with children and growing up in that society, and the stories that we tell ourselves. But I didn't really think of it the next morning that it was going to happen again, that I would just wake up at 4 a.m. and feel like I had to go do this writing, and I never heard the voice outside of me again. The second morning, it was a thought in my own head. It's time to write. And I just went and I thought, well, I don't know what to write next. I didn't even think that this would continue. And it just sort of, as soon as I sat down, it just sort of picked up right where it left off. I never wrote out a plot line or a list of characters or a narrative about what this book would be about. It simply came to me from 4 a.m. till 5 a.m. every day for 15 months straight until it was finished.
Well, that is amazing. Did you self-publish this?
I did. Yes, I contacted the agents. I talked to a few agents because they liked my writing, but they were interested in, did I have a following? And also, what had I already written? And I said, well, nothing. I'm an orthodontist, but I wrote 4 books. And they said, well, that's not going to get anyone to publish this for you, because these days the publishing industry is quite different. In hindsight, it's actually a good thing. I feel like because I self-published it, I had complete creative control over it. And also I felt like, what is, the setting of these books, that they don't actually hit the mark of being politically correct at all times. And part of that is because it's true to the time frames. And I think it's important for people to know that and to be placed in that time frame. This is what was missing. And that we not, make up stuff that this is a better way that it could have happened or should have happened, because people don't learn from that. We have to it's the purpose of these books, I really believe, is to rewrite the love story for humanity. And we have to sort of go back to the beginning and understand, what is our belief system? Where did it come from? What were we taught about love, and how did we learn about it? And what are our overarching ideas and beliefs that led us to make the choices and the decisions that we made?
I haven't read the book, so I can't make a commentary on the actual book. But what I find interesting, and what I think would make an interesting selling point, is this whole idea of how you got up every day, was sort of led to get up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and start writing. That to me is a very compelling story that should be somehow attached to the book as a selling point, strictly from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, I agree. It's very marketable. People find that fascinating,
Yeah.
as do I.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. I mean, I knew that I could have conscious thoughts while I was writing it. I would have opinions in my head floating around like, oh, this is interesting. Why is this in there? Why are we talking about this part? Or I don't want to write that. If I had resistance to writing something, that I felt was very cringy, it's sort of like Athena is not written as a romanticized version of myself. She's not written as a hero. She's written as a human, and she's very fallible and awkward and lonely and also resilient and hopeful and brilliant. But she's all of it. And when I would try to alter the way that the words came or to change the content, it would just completely stop, right? Just silence. And I would sort of look up and be like, okay. And just in agreement with that, I'm going to write it out. When I really had a lot of resistance, I had a vision of the dedication page and it said, for me. And I realized, okay, this is for me to write out. No one has to read it. It's going to be fine. Just write it out and do whatever this is. I really had no concept of how large of an undertaking it would be to edit them, to have them professionally edited, to paint the covers. I did the paintings of the covers I had in visions, and then to put them out, and then to do these things and promote these books. It's a completely different world. And I just think there is a message, a divine message for humanity in these books that I'm driven to bring to the forefront of the reading world.
Well, it's an amazing story, and I'm sure the book is equally as interesting. Sonia, we do have to wind this down. We are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on. Last question, do you have a website you want to give out?
I do. You can see me at soniapalleck.com, SoniaPalleck. I am also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok at Sonia Palleck.
Okay. Book one is out. How long has it been out?
It's just been out a few months, and book 2 is already out as well on Amazon. Book 3 will be out and probably published in about 6 weeks, and book 4 before the end of the year.
Okay. You're getting some good reviews?
Excellent reviews. People can't put it down. They just want the next one. So it's a fast, gripping read, and it will put you in your feels. This first book is Shake What Your Trauma Gave You.
Well, super. Well, again, thanks for coming on this show. Best of luck with your book series.
Thank you so much, Douglas, for having me. I appreciate it.